Everyone these days is talking about heavy arrow setups, boom, crushing power. I've been pretty curious. Does FOC live up to all of its hype? Now, before we talk about the arrow itself, I want to talk about who built the arrow. So I know this guy, Dustin Adams, who makes custom arrow builds for people through his business called Adams Precision Archery. Now, I've known Dustin for a few years because he's been following along with my hunting content. So after he got his business going this last year, we got to talking and decided that we wanted to take his passion for archery and arrow builds and take my passion for videography and start a partnership. Now, I got some more interesting information that you'll want to know about Dustin at the end of this video. But for now, let's jump into the actual arrow itself. Now, I know all you arrow nerds like your specs, so here they are. So a couple things that I want to mention about this arrow. It's not a really heavy arrow. I was just seeing somebody on Facebook the other day that said that they're shooting an 800 grain arrow. To each his own. I want the benefit of being able to have some sort of a heavier arrow setup, but I also don't want to have to be aiming at the stars for a 40-yard shot. And so I asked Dustin, what's the range that you would suggest? And he said right in that 480 to 500 grain area. That's where you can maintain some of that good trajectory, but also pack a good punch. So we decided to go with the VAP TKO 300s. I also opted in for the white fletching wraps, and I did this because when I shoot a deer, I want to be able to see what the blood actually looks like. I used to shoot some arrows that were red and black, and man, it was so hard to tell what the blood was actually looking like after you shot a deer. Something else that I really enjoy about these arrows is that they're a thin profile. And I think that there's some advantages to that you're gonna see in this video. And something else that I like about this arrow is that it's just a really cool looking arrow. So let's take this over to the targets and see how it shoots. For the sake of comparison, I'm going to use these Carbon Express Maximas. These are my old arrows that I've been using, and compare that to the VAP TKO. So the first thing that I'm gonna be looking for is just the difference in penetration. All right, so I'm shooting a 68-pound Matthews Z3, and I'm going to be shooting the Carbon Express arrow first. All right, and now we're gonna try the VAP TKO. All right, so check out that difference right here on the back side of the target. This is blowing out mega. That other one hasn't even popped the back side of the target. Holy smokes, that's a difference. Now, obviously this area, this section of the target's a little bit blown out, so we could try it even in an area up higher. All right, so as you can see, this arrow definitely went in further than the other one, and this arrow is a little bit longer than my Carbon Express Maxima, so it definitely blew this arrow out of the water. And here we have a double stacked target, one right after another. And so let's pull this apart and see. That's the difference in penetration right there. I don't know about you, but if this is the chest cavity of a deer, that makes a big flippin' difference. That could be the difference of you killing that deer or not killing that deer. Now, with the better force that I've been getting in penetration from these arrows, it's also presented somewhat of a problem for me in that anytime that these arrows touch each other, they're blowing right through the fletchings, and I've even busted an arrow already. And I may have cried a little bit when this happened. That's also one of the reasons why I've decided that I can only shoot one arrow in one place, because if these things kiss each other, they're gonna smack each other. Oh! And the other thing too that I'm seeing is that they just don't deflect. You know, these arrows, man, I could bounce them off each other. I've got the same fletchings on these for years. I've shot hundreds and hundreds of shots through these arrows here. I have yet to bust through any one of these fletchings on here. And in the first 100 shots that I took with the heavier arrows, I blew through 3 fletchings. So that's not the glamorous side of using these arrows. It's not that the arrows themselves are bad quality. It's just that the amount of force that these arrows have when they're flying, they do not deflect. A few years ago, I had a buck that I shot at with my Carbon Express Maximas, and that arrow kind of ricocheted off of a very small twig. If I'd have been using this setup, I'd have that deer on my wall right now. Now, something else about these arrows is that when I shoot them, my bow sounds differently. And I don't know for certain if I can say that it's quieter, but it definitely gives a different sound, and I want you to hear that and listen to that right now. We're gonna shoot the Carbon Express first. Okay, so that's what that sounds like. And now here is what the VAP TKO sounds like. So there's definitely a different kind of tone that's coming from the bow. Now, one of the biggest dilemmas with the heavier arrow setup is that there's going to be some drop, and I want to show you what that actually looks like with this bow. All right, so first of all, I'm going to try this with the TKO. I'm going to shoot at the very bottom target, and this is going to be a 40-yard shot. And then now I'm going to use the Carbon Express. Shoot at the same exact target. Now, I might have been a little bit shaky on that, but you know, I was aiming right about in there, and I was aiming for this one right about in there. So you can see that's probably 16, 17 inch difference in arrow height. It's significant. If your yardage is off a little bit, it's not such a big deal with this one. I mean, there's not a huge difference between 40 yard and 20 yard with that arrow, but there's a major difference with this arrow. But that's the beauty of, if you work with Dustin, he can make whatever arrow you want. You don't need to have a heavy arrow setup. If this is not worth it to you, that's fine. But I'll tell you this, with the results that I'm seeing with that arrow and how it punches through the target and how it just packs a wallop, I gotta say, it's worth it, in my opinion. I just gotta be much more intentional with my yardage on the deer, making sure that I'm accurate with that, because 2, 3, maybe 4 yards would make a big difference in that shot, being 3, 4 inches low or 3, 4 inches high. That's the one big drawback. That is pretty much about the only real drawback to this type of setup. So I got a couple final thoughts here on this. I think that this was the right move personally for me to go with the heavier arrows, especially considering the circumstances that I'm hunting in most of the time. I'm in a big wood setting. You see how thick that is? It's thicker than snot everywhere in the woods where I'm at. The fact that it could give me a fighting chance if I hit a stick or deflect off something, it's not gonna be nearly as significant as a lightweight arrow. If you are interested in getting any arrows made up, talk to Dustin with Adams Precision Archery. This is a guy that really is on his A game. He does such a good job. The quality of what he puts together is very good. I'm very impressed with it. It has flown beautifully and it looks cool. He even did custom fletchings with 2 different colors. I mean, you can make this however you want, whatever you want. If you want designs, unique, cool things on your fletching wraps, go for it. I got a link right here that you can click if you want to go to his website. And also, I've got a link in the description to his Facebook, his Instagram, and to the website. Thanks for watching, guys.